Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order tonight's regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Trustees for the Village of Burr Ridge. It is, of course, June 27th. 4th of July, just around the corner. First order of business, of course, and appropriately, is our Pledge of Allegiance. And today we're being led by Connor Davis, who's a fourth grader at Pleasantdale Elementary School. And he is a super hard worker, according to his principal. Great role model for the rest of the students. In school, he loves all the subjects. But in his spare time, Connor loves playing Monopoly. Might be some real estate in his future. Watching the St. Louis Cardinals, which will be going to St. Louis pretty soon, I heard, and Nerf guns. Connor loves the color orange, collecting stuffed animals, including a life-size crocodile, and playing with his big brother, Griffin, who's here today with him, as well as his mother. His parents are active PTA members and do a lot for all the students. His parents are Mandy and Todd Davis, and Todd is also on our Pathway Commission. So Connor, would you please come to the front and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pick a flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Very good. All right. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Great job.
Okay. Guy. Okay, Karen, may I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Francis.
Here.
Trustee Grosso.
Here.
Trustee Paveza.
Here.
Trustee Bolus.
Here.
Trustee Murphy.
Here.
Trustee Scalpa.
Here.
Mayor Scott.
Here. And now we'd like to have a special recognition award for Irma, Zero Accidents for 2015 for Burr Ridge Police Department.
Right. The village is a member, a longstanding member since 1990 of the Intergovernmental Risk Management Agency. This is our village's liability insurance agency. It's an municipal insurance pool, and they recognize municipalities for many different types of things, especially as it relates to accidents. And at the last board meeting, and I am on the board of directors there, the Village of Burr Ridge was recognized, and the Burr Ridge Police Department especially was recognized for having 0 accidents reported to Irma in the year 2015. And this is a big issue, I mean, and a big thing. We received a nice plaque, and I wanted to take the opportunity to present this to the police chief and the deputy chief, who's a member of our village safety committee, and recognize them for their great job that they've done this past year and making sure that our department is safe and adhering to all of our safety rules. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
And now, are there any residents that would like to address the board at this time?
Good evening, James Holderman, 32 Deer Path Trail. Upon seeing the agenda on Friday, I went out and began to inform my fellow residents of the resolution that you will be considering. And on Friday, I started speaking with people, and many people were very interested in the subject and hadn't heard much about it, as I have found when I had gone out and spoken to people in the past. But most people are very, very busy and unable to attend. So I went back, and Saturday I had an option of not only informing them that the meeting would be taking place, but I gave them the option of signing a petition. So we have 30 signatures or so of residents who I spoke with. There was no one else doing the petition, and I did this for a few hours over the weekend. So that would be just the first thing that I'd like to present to the board. As part of my more formal comment now, what I would like to say is in my hand is a list of the 14 concerns I have with ComEd smart meters. I have discussed many of these concerns at prior board meetings. Tonight, however, I'm going to be very focused, so I have only 3 items in my packet for the board to look at tonight. The first is a photograph, if you guys have your packets. This photograph was taken on my patio. The child you see through the window is my son. He is standing right next to his main player area, which is currently located in our kitchen. I'm obviously just off the patio. The patio is where he spends a majority of his time when he's playing outside of the house. He really likes to stand by the window, though, when I'm working in the yard. Right now, his very favorite thing to do is to watch me mow our lawn. And he will just stand there for hours, well, not hours, but a half hour at a time, and it's amazing for an 18-month-old to be doing that. So the next page that I want you guys to look at is the FCC limits, and this is a graph. So I brought this graph before the board at prior meetings. This graph was put together by the Environmental Health Trust. The link is provided for you there. This graph depicts the FCC limits for pulsed fields of radio frequency radiation. You can compare the FCC limits for the United States to a few other countries listed on the graph. The FCC guidelines are based on radio frequency radiation's thermal effects. That would be an exposure level that actually begins to heat the cells of your body in the same way a microwave cooks your food. The next page is documents that actually are right off of the FCC's website. And I would like to just quote a few from there. I've put check marks by the ones that I'm going to talk about. At relatively low levels of exposure to radio frequency radiation, i.e. levels lower than that which would produce significant heating, the evidence for production of harmful biological effects is ambiguous and unproven. Allow me to insert a quick comment. I have to wonder what one day will constitute unambiguous and proven, and how much longer it will take to have 100% undeniable proof, and what sort of harmful biological effects will take place in the run-up to the evidence establishing 100% undeniable proof. So I have one more quote off of the FCC website for you guys, and that is, the FCC, on the next page, the FCC authorizes and licenses devices, transmitters, and facilities that generate radio frequency radiation. It has jurisdiction over all transmitting services in the U.S. except those specifically operated by the federal government. However, the FCC's primary jurisdiction does not lie in the health and safety area. It must rely on other agencies and organizations for guidance in these matters. The FCC's primary jurisdiction does not lie in the health and safety area. As you look at the last page of the packet, you will see that I've underlined the types of organizations that the FCC looks to. One of those is the National Toxicology Program. This National Toxicology Program recently released its findings linking radio frequency radiation as the likely cause of tumors, cancer, and lower birth weights in rats, as I discussed at our prior meeting. So, as we look at this takes me back to the first page, the picture of the little boy in the photograph. Now, as you look at him, I want you to consider something. I'm not actually here tonight for the child in that photograph. I'm not, because that child's father is well aware of the risks associated with being in close proximity to pulsed fields of radio frequency radiation that are emitted from ComEd smart meters. That child in that photograph will never receive that kind of pulse radiation exposure. I'm here tonight for the child whose father or mother hasn't yet been informed about these risks. I'm here tonight for the child whose parents are not even aware of the subject of smart meters. I'm here because every parent should have the right to know that smart meter is going to be installed on their home in the next few weeks, or in the next few months, or certainly in the next few years unless something is changed. And that smart meter is emitting a Group 2B possible carcinogen as classified by the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer. And that smart meter is emitting the same 900 megahertz radio frequency radiation that likely resulted in cancer and low birth weights in rats, according to our National Institute of Health National Toxicology Program. I'm here for those parents who should have the right and the information necessary to make a choice if they feel it is in the best interest of their child's health. I'm about to wrap up.
I just want to let you know.
Yeah, a couple more sentences.
Are you going to want to make any comments later?
Only if you guys want me to.
Just want to keep in.
Yeah. No, I will wrap this up and then I will respond to any questions.
You know, I hate to cut you off, but I.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and I generally try to.
Everybody the same way.
Yeah. And to that, I want to thank my village board for providing me a forum and giving this issue your careful attention for the past few months. At this point, nobody can tell us how big the risks are. The representative for ComEd says there is no risk. The World Health Organization says cancer is possible. The National Toxicology Program used the word likely. All I know is when I look at that little boy in the photograph, whatever the level of risk, what is at risk is too precious to be put in that position. And I will never let that happen to my son. Every parent should be given the same opportunity. Thank you for having the courage to do what you can to protect our families.
James, I have a question. On the picture, I noticed you put a sign on the meter.
I did put a sign on the meter.
Can you make that available to people? Is there specific wording that we need to put on there?
I put the sign because in some of my research I have found that when subcontractors see this, they may not have been properly apprised of a customer's status. ComEd assures me that that's not the case. Out of an abundance of caution, I place a sign there just to ensure that they understand our wishes. And I would be happy to provide that to anyone and, maybe even provide a sample if Burridge wanted to post it on the website.
Yeah, that would be great. Definitely.
Thank you, James.
Okay, thank you.
To that end, remember we asked at that meeting for the process for residents to opt out.
Right.
That they give us that, and I have yet to receive that.
This is just a caution.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of the old days. My dad was in the cigarette business.
And they were safe.
Yeah, I remember the first time that little message went up that cigarette smoking may be hazardous to your health. So I get it. Are there any other residents that'd like to address the board this time? Okay. I now like to move on to the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine. Sorry?
Could I ask the public, is there anybody here from the Cook County Elections Commission? Okay, because they had indicated that they may want to be here, and I didn't want them to sit here through the whole meeting if they were here. They were just going to announce the fact that they need election judges. And in fact, in both Cook and DuPage County, they're looking for election judges. So I don't know whether they were going to plan on coming. Maybe they'll come to another meeting, but I just want to make sure.
Okay, great.
Sorry, apologize.
No worries. As I mentioned, all items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a board member or citizen so request, in which event it will be removed. Under the minutes, we have 5A, approval of regular board meeting of June 13th, 2016. 5B, receive and file draft personnel committee meeting of June 21st, 2016. Ordinances. 6A, approval of ordinance annexing certain real estate located 9191 Drew Avenue. We have 6B, approval of an ordinance rezoning property upon annexation from the R1 Single Family Residence District to the R2B Single Family Residence District of the Burridge zoning ordinance at 9191 Drew Avenue. 6C, approval of an ordinance granting a variation from the Village of Burridge zoning ordinance to permit a fence, swimming pool, and associated landscape, including stone, concrete, patio surfaces, retaining and landscape walls, and equipment, and an interior side buildable area east of the existing home, rather than in the rear buildable area south of the existing home. That's number VO3 2016, located 11801 German Church Road. Last name is Smutney. Under resolutions, we have 7D, adoption of a resolution approving preliminary plat for Esser Court subdivision at 9191 Drew Avenue. Under considerations, we have 8F, approval of a vendor list in the amount of $606,473.71 for all funds, plus $202,698.84 for payroll, for a grand total of $809,172.55, which includes a special expenditure of $471,087.08 to Brothers Asphalt Paving for payment number one on the 2016 road program. May I have a motion to approve the following items on the consent agenda? 5A, 5B, 6A, 6B, 6C, 7D, and 8G.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
6-0.
Consent agenda items passed 6-0. On to resolutions. Under 7A, consideration of resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage, the DuPage County Emergency Telephone System Board, and the Village of Burr Ridge, authorizing the transfer of the Village of Burr Ridge Emergency Telephone System Board 911 service and operations to the DuPage County Emergency Telephone System Board 911 system.
Yes, as the board is aware, a change in the state law last year is requiring small municipalities like Burr Ridge and their emergency telephone system board to merge with larger entities. This is a cost-saving measure, and we are required to do so, and we've agreed to join the DuPage County Emergency Telephone System Board. After several months' delay, we finally have now a resolution and an intergovernmental agreement between the county, the DuPage County ETSB, and the Village of Burr Ridge, again authorizing the transfer of our Emergency Telephone System Board service from our existing board to the DuPage County Emergency Telephone System Board. This will basically eliminate our Burr Ridge ETSB. And I recommend adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion? Presentations? May I have a motion to approve 7A?
So moved?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa? Yes. Trustee Francis?
Yes.
6-0.
Okay. 7B, consideration of resolution encouraging Commonwealth Edison to allow residents an option to permanently opt out of the smart meter installation program.
Yes, on Friday, June 17th, we held an administrative meeting between resident James Holderman and Commonwealth Edison, as we had discussed previously. Also present were trustees Bolus and Murphy. Really, the main reason for that meeting was to kind of frame the issues, understand the differences of opinion that we may have between what Commonwealth Edison has been telling us and what we've been hearing from Mr. Holderman over the course of the last several meetings. Mr. Holderman had provided a list of questions that we wanted Commonwealth Edison to answer. Unfortunately, although we were told that we would have received those questions prior to the meeting, we received them basically at that meeting, didn't really have an opportunity to kind of review them and spend the time that we would have liked to discuss that a little bit more. And of course, we were also disappointed that Commonwealth Edison only gave us an hour of their time at that meeting when I think a lot more time was necessary. We did, however, have the opportunity to talk about 3 or 4 issues. First and foremost, the health issues associated with radio frequency radiation. And of course, this is not unique to smart meters. Radio frequency radiation occurs with all radio RF devices, whether it be cell phones that you might carry in your pocket, or whether it's microwaves, whether it's Wi-Fi systems in the home. On and on and on and on, these RF devices do emit radiation. And there are some concerns, or have been concerns out there. In a recent study by the National Toxicology Program that just came out a month ago, had indicated that there are health concerns, and that the study that they conducted using rats and radiation levels that you would normally see in daily use over the life scale of these rats cause cancer. And some two rare forms of cancer, and of course some other issues as well. So it's a troubling concern that people have, but again, this is a new issue. And just as the mayor was talking about years ago, nobody was concerned about smokers. Well, at this point in time, nobody's concerned about RF radiation. It permeates our entire society. You can't get away from it today with all the different devices that are out there. We didn't solve any problems or concerns in this regard. Of course, Commonwealth Edison indicated they felt the study itself was controversial, inconclusive, felt that more study is needed, and it's probably the case. Certainly, in order to convince the powers that be probably being the FCC, that this is a concern, that they should take more responsibility and pay more attention to this issue. We're hopeful that that may occur in the future, but that's not something that we as a village of Burr Ridge will be able to resolve at this point in time. We also talked about the differences between the smart meters and cell phones. Again, there was some differences of opinion between Commonwealth Edison, who feels that there's no difference and probably less radio frequency radiation coming from cell phones than from smart meters. But again, that also was at issue. Again, we spent a great deal of time talking about that particular subject. We also talked about the data that is being collected by the smart meters. Commonwealth Edison assured us that by law they have no right to share that information with others, and they felt that their encryption mechanisms were in place so that nobody could steal that information. So again, we were there for a little more than an hour, had an opportunity to discuss some of these issues, not at as great a length as maybe we could have. But as best I could determine, I think here are some facts that we should all understand. Again, the use of RF technology is pervasive in our society, and various levels of RF radiation emanates from several sources throughout every household in America, coming from cell phones, wireless phones, microwaves, Wi-Fi modems, laptop computers, baby monitors, et cetera, et cetera. We know since 2011 that the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer declared RF radiation emitted by cell phones as a possible carcinogenic.
Carcinogenic.
Yes, easy for you to say. A recent study conducted by the U.S. National Toxicology Program has found evidence linking RF radiation to rare cancers in male rats and lower birth rates in litters of female rats exposed to RF radiation. We just talked about that. We know that smart meters, like all other devices using this RF technology cited above, fall within the FCC guidelines. So that's important to understand. And again, ComEd is prohibited by law to provide data collected by smart meters to outside organizations. And most importantly to residents to understand is that the village lacks any legal authority to stop Commonwealth Edison from installing smart meters in the Burr Ridge community. Again, we can agree to disagree, and I think in some cases we do disagree with Commonwealth Edison. But whether or not smart meters emit more or less radiation than other types of devices, it's clear that the amount of radiation does fall within the FCC guidelines. However, the one big difference, and this is something that I think Trustee Murphy and also Trustee Bolus brought up at the meeting, was that there's a big difference between those RF devices and smart meters in the fact that people have an individual choice. If people find that this issue to be of concern, they don't have to have a smartphone. They don't have to have some of these other RF devices in their home. But currently, residents don't have the right to opt out of having a smart meter. Now, we know that you can opt out temporarily, but by 2019, they say, and no later than 2022, depending on when this program is finally completed, Commonwealth Edison, they tell us by ICC ruling that they are required to install the smart meters in everybody's home, whether you like it or not, okay? So that's the concern, and I think, and again, I would ask Trustee Bolus and Murphy to chime in on this issue, but I think that's the one major issue that I think the village can take a stand on and simply say to Commonwealth Edison, we don't think that's right. For those individuals that feel strongly that they don't want this type of device in their home, they should be allowed to opt out. And the enclosed resolution basically does just that in terms of requesting that Commonwealth Edison take action to pursue a permanent opt-out. The resolution also directs the village administrator to contact our legislative leaders and the governor to inform them of the issue and to request that they take legislative action to allow ComEd to provide a program for a permanent opt-out of the smart meter program. And I think that's what's before you, and that is my recommendation, and I wanted to turn it over to the two trustees that were at that meeting, and I know they have issues of concern.
Actually, Trustee Bolus?
It was a very disappointing meeting in that ComEd couldn't be bothered. They came with the questions in hand answered and said, here you go, we'll read them to you. And it was an extremely unproductive, ineffective meeting, and they didn't want to hear anything about it other than their side of the story. So I initially proposed a moratorium, and Steve wisely talked me out of it and said a resolution would be a better way to go. I think we need to pass this resolution. It is a true concern because the RF radiation is whole body radiation. It's not simply putting a phone to your head and, okay, you know your radiation is here. It is whole body radiation, and it radiates into your house. And if you're sitting outside on your patio or your deck, you're getting that field of radiation around you. And it's, like, as you said, it's the same thing as cigarettes. In a few years, we're going to be seeing a lot of rare cancers, and this did have rare cancers in males and lower birth rates of litters of female rats, and that's very concerning. So I think we're very wise in passing this resolution, and we want to make sure that all the residents of Burr Ridge know about this and know about the opt-out, how to opt out. And you can't say opt out because Commonwealth Edison on the phone tells you can't opt out. You must use the words defer and be very firm. It took me 35 minutes to get this done. I was telling my nephew, I said, be very firm with them, and it took them 15 minutes. They didn't want him on the phone because he was very aggressive. So, and Steve and Mickey, maybe, the one thing, I was at a neighborhood barbecue yesterday, and people are like, I don't look at the website. I don't know anything about this. Is there something we can mail, like we're doing for the water, to homes saying you have the option to opt out? And I know you said ComEd did not send us the procedures to opt out, but it's simply a phone number and saying, please look at the website for the resolution, something. I mean, I don't know what the cost of this is.
It'll be about $1,000.
It will. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but people,
But we talked about that.
did we?
Mailing out, yeah, but I thought it was going to be done.
Okay.
Well, no, I would want a motion to that effect.
Right, I don't recall the conversation, but then I'm getting old, so. So I very strongly encourage everybody to opt out of this, or defer.
Trustee Murphy, you were the other person, the other trustee that was present, like to add anything?
Yeah, and I think, Steve, you did a great job of explaining everything that went on during the meeting. I, too, was disappointed that, you know, after we all made time to be at this meeting that they had rescheduled once before, they cut us off after 1 hour of questioning. I can tell you from my own family that I've opted out. I called ComEd. They had already installed a smart meter at my house. Because we use a lot of energy, they said just in homes like mine, they changed like the meters every couple of years. And so they went ahead and did it without my permission. So I had to pay $75 to get somebody to come and take it out. And now I have to pay $25 a month. But I think it's worth it for my family's health. And I would encourage everybody in Burr Ridge to do the same. And I think it's really important that we pass this resolution as a village. We have to look out for everybody's health and well-being, number one thing. So I would encourage everybody to vote for this resolution. On my Facebook page, I have the phone number, and I'll share it again, and I think that as a village, we should do the same thing.
Trustee Schiappa, would you like?
Well, I want to thank Trustee Bolus, Trustee Murphy for attending the meeting. I think it's important to have the choice whether or not you want the smart meter or not. We have choices. to get a smartphone, to have a laptop or microwave or what have you. So I'm in support of passing the resolution.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes, I received my electricity bill yesterday, the day before, and I thought to myself, I wonder if I also have had a meter installed and I didn't even know about it. And at the top of the bill, it explains that I think it's a 9-digit number. I believe it said if it starts with a 2, 3, whatever, you have a new meter out there, because I don't remember what the old one looked like, you know? So we can check, and people can check whether or not they've already had one installed or not, and whether they have to ask for it to be removed.
I would point out that the program to install meters in Burridge will probably, they told us that will take place in September and October of this year. So you will be receiving information from ComEd prior to that, letting you know that the process is started. But for those who would like to opt out, again, once there's a phone number, I think it's already on our website, but if we get procedures and so forth, and if we do send a postcard, we'll certainly add that information to that to let people know what the procedure would be, and they don't have to wait. They can go ahead and do that, and I would suggest they do that sooner than later.
Trustee Abrams, would you like to make any comments?
Yes, thank you. Trustee Schiappa is exactly right. We have choices if we want to put a cell phone, talk on a cell phone, put it to our ear, cook something in a microwave, smoke a cigarette, or any other devices that might generate radio frequency radiation. We don't have a choice right now with ComEd and these smart meters. This resolution will give the residents a choice to permanently defer the installation of these meters in their homes. Our number one responsibility here as trustees is to the safety and well-being of residents. And this is right there at the top of protecting our residents and maintaining a safe and healthy environment for our families to grow up in and thrive in. So I would support this resolution.
Trustee Professor?
Thank you.
Well, after reading the minutes of the meeting, and the attitude of ComEd brought me back to a few years ago, Steve, when we had the trouble with the trees and the wires, and the attitude that ComEdison gave us at that time. Just very little cooperation, and really had trouble conversing with the top people to get a good answer. The only question I have, the comment that was made by Trustee Bolus about the card, how soon before are we mailing out another Burridge brief?
That's not till September.
Well, if they're going to be,
Should we do it early?
either early or but I got to agree, I think that would be the right way to go.
Maybe it could be put in the water bill, it could be put somewhere.
Yes, we can absolutely put it in the water bills.
Good idea.
If you, in lieu of this, and put it in water bills.
As long as it
People will look
gets
at
out
it that
quickly.
way, I bet, even more.
As long as it gets out timely
Okay.
before installation. I'd also, Mickey, may I? I'd also like to thank Mr. Holderman for all his work and all the hours and the time and the commitment he's put into this. ComEd made a presentation to us and everything looked very rosy, and it wasn't until you came before this board and told us the facts about what these smart meters can do to us and do to our children and grandchildren. I can't thank you enough for all the work you've done. Thank you so much.
Yes, and by the way, I'm not making any prediction with that cigarette analogy, but we couldn't take the chance, and certainly we appreciate James for bringing all this to our attention and all the research, and at least it opens up the discussion to a company that's generally not the most flexible in acquiescing or or being flexible. Period. I had a positive experience with them recently, but that was a rarity, but this is a far more important topic, and at least this will be propel that discussion further. Now, I do have one question though for our village administrator. That is this is a resolution. What exactly, can you clarify for the residents what this resolution does and what it doesn't do?
Well, it simply puts the village board on record as saying that they want Commonwealth Edison to strongly consider pursuing a permanent opt-out. As I indicated earlier on, you have the right to temporarily opt out or defer having a smart meter, and that's between now and probably between 2019 and 2022. What we're hoping is by this resolution, Commonwealth Edison takes action. The General Assembly may need to take action as well, and I think Commonwealth Edison will have to pursue that legislation, and we're just putting our legislative leaders on notice that they may be hearing from Commonwealth Edison and that they should support the notion of allowing residents throughout the service area of Commonwealth Edison to permanently opt out of the smart meter program. I think what you're finding is that as more and more of these studies come out, this is becoming more and more mainstream, and people are paying more attention. I'm hoping that the General Assembly will understand that. Obviously, we're hoping ComEd understands that. And that they'll take appropriate action. Yes, it will come probably with a higher cost because they'll have to manually read your meters. But for some residents, it'll be worth it, as Trustee Murphy indicated. And for those residents who choose that, I think they should have that right. And I think that's what we're talking about here.
Okay. How much teeth does it have in it? This is just a resolution?
Well, we're a small, non-home rule community in a sea of lots of other municipalities, and this is going on all over the Chicagoland and all through the ComEd service area. Will it have other effects? I don't know. I hope so. I hope that we get the word out to people. I'm on the DuPage Mayor's Managers Regulatory Issues Committee, and I'll certainly be mentioning at that meeting and talking to other village administrators, about this subject, and hopefully people will pay attention. I know this was discussed in Lake Forest just recently, and they did not take any action in Lake Forest, but I know there were many, many residents who came to that meeting and voiced concerns. So again, like I said, it's just not in our little community. It's everywhere. It's pervasive, and I think it's becoming more mainstream.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Just takes one to start.
Yeah, and I think as much as we can kind of talk about it on our Facebook page and on our newsletter and sending it out in the water bill, and Kevin, I see you over there taking notes, so I'm hoping you'll write an article about this. Hopefully we'll start a little ripple effect.
And this is very early on. Obviously, the same concern was, as you mentioned, were cell phones and also the screening at airports. And there's whatever it is, where smoke, there's sometimes fire. Certainly more research has to be done, and this can help maybe curtail it until something more conclusive comes out board. But most importantly, give us the freedom and option to make that choice.
Who's going to make the motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Bolas?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
6-0.
Motion passes 6-0. Under next on the agenda is under resolutions is 7C, consideration of resolution adopting the prevailing wage rate for laborers, workers, mechanics employed in public works of the Village of Burr Ridge, Cook, and DuPage counties.
Yes, this is our annual requirement to pass and adopt a resolution regarding prevailing wage rates. This is a state law, and we are required under the law to pass this resolution. I know that it comes with lots of concerns from trustees. That's why I did not place it on the consent agenda. Trustee Pavesa specifically asked me not to put it on the consent agenda because I know he had some comments, and I'm sure others do as well.
Trustee Pavesa?
Well, everybody's read, I'm sure in the papers, Governor Rauner against Mike Madigan. And this particular law is involved in the stalemate between the two, although this one has been on the books for a long time. Illinois is full of laws and unfunded mandates that affect the efficient operation of municipality. This is one of them. Every year, the state gives us an updated wage schedule. The state tells us that when we go out to bid on a job, if we don't hire a union contractor, we have to make sure the contractor that we hired pays the state minimum wages, which are very close to union wages. By imposing this wage structure on us and basically every municipality in the state, depending on the size of the job, the type of the job, this will add 10 to 30% to the job. This is just one of the laws that severely impact the efficient operation of most municipalities. And I just like to let people know about it because over the years, we've all heard from when we approve a job, people come up to us and say, how come it was so much? Why did it cost so much? This is one of the reasons it costs so much. Unfortunately, we have no alternative but to approve it. Basically, what we're saying is, yes, we've seen the new wages, and we'll make sure that any jobs that come into us that go out to bid, that these wages will be paid by the contractor if it's not a union contractor.
All right,
Trustee Grasso?
I'm confused then, Al. You're saying we have to approve it, but we can still hire people who are non-union as long as they're being paid the minimum wage?
No, this wage,
Okay.
this wage.
So there,
Basically,
it's
the
not like
reason,
you can opt out of this
No.
and pay a penalty or something?
No.
I mean, there's no,
basically, all this
Okay.
is they're telling us, you know, everybody gets a raise, 2%, 3%. Every year they send us this saying, this is a new wage rate. So if you go out to bid and it's a non-union contractor, we have to make sure that these wages are being paid by that contractor.
And Trustee Paveza, can you expand a little bit further as to what that ultimately affects? How does that affect the percentage of union work that's done, and how does that affect the final price of those jobs?
Well, like I said, it's already been proven that depending on the size, depending on the type of job, it will add 10 to 30% to the cost of that job. It's already been proven that.
And thereby, and help me better understand it, is that way if they hire somebody that's not a union company, there's really there's no economic advantage. They're forcing the hand that there's no economic advantage to hiring non-union.
Very little.
And then if it's non-union, then they have the rat come out.
Basically, what we have to make sure, or anybody that's overseeing one of our bids, like our public works director, or anybody that's overlooking one of these bids, it's a non-union contractor that had the low bid, we still have to make sure that, which again is garbage, that contractor is paying these wages.
Yeah, I remember when the proposal was made for the a proposed roundabout being installed at 79th and Madison Street, just the price of the prevailing wages versus private industry increased it by, I think it was more like 30% and up because of that. But unfortunately, and this is just a point of information because we have no choice, but we wanted to educate the residents about this and discuss it a little bit further.
well, if we have no choice, I'll make the motion that we have to approve it.
Second.
Anybody else like to, any comments, Vince?
We can say no, we still have to follow it.
It's called unfunded mandates.
Yeah.
And one more reason why our future is in the hands of what the decided at the state legislature, so. Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes?
Trustee Baveza?
Yes.
Trustee Bolas?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Scalpa?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you. Under considerations, we have 8A, presentation of the Nixle Community Alert System.
Good evening. Recently, we implemented a mass notification system. We've been searching for a system to use to communicate with residents at different levels of information. Deputy Chief Loftus is going to present the the software that we are currently using. It's called Nixle. And some of you may have gotten some notifications. It's up and running. We did some training inside the department, some training with department heads. So Deputy Chief Loftus has a very short PowerPoint to introduce the program to the trustees and the mayor tonight.
Thank you. A little bit of background. We recently changed dispatch centers from Southwest Central Dispatch to DUCOM, which is in DuPage County. One of the services we had at Southwest Central Dispatch was a system called Code Red Emergency Notification, and we used it frequently for emergency alerts throughout the village. But we were limited in what we could do with that. We could only send out things that really rose to emergencies: missing, endangered people, crimes in progress, school lockdowns, things of that nature. We were really looking for a way to get more information out, information that's valuable to the public, information that a lot of people approached us and said, how come I didn't hear about this that happened on the north side of town? We think it would really be beneficial if we knew about it. One of the benefits of changing to Nixle, we're in a position to look for our own system because DUCOM doesn't have something like Code Red. One of the benefits here is we can tailor our messages and get them out to as many people as possible and not have to worry about, is this really a Code Red level emergency? What level of emergency is it? We found Nixle. A lot of communities in the area are using Nixle to provide emergency notifications to residents and anybody who has a concern or a need to know. What Nixle does is it provides alerts through your phone, through text messages, and through email. These alerts are opted in by anybody who wants to receive them. They're scalable by the end user, and there are 3 different levels of alerts that are sent out through Nixle. Alerts, which is the highest level of information; advisory, which is kind of in the middle; and community alerts. Emergency alerts are used to inform and update citizens in the event of an actual or potential emergency, such as severe weather warnings, vehicle accidents causing road closures, incidents of criminal activity that are occurring or continuing, missing or endangered individuals, evacuations, and messages of that nature. Now, when I say that people opt in to receive these, that's an option to receive it by your cell phone, text message, email. What we have that we always had with Code Red and we still have is the ability to reverse dial all the phones in town. So in the event of an emergency alert, we still can do the reverse dial voice message that goes out to everybody. You maybe, if you have kids in school and you get that emergency snow closing message, it's a message similar to that. It'll come to your phone, leave a message saying, this is the Burridge Police Department, there's criminal activity in this area, be on the lookout for this or that. That we have, and nobody has to opt in or out of that. That's just a function of the system using the phone database to dial in. So in the big picture, regardless of what people want to sign up for, they'll still get these reverse 911 messages to their home phone, if they have a home phone. A lot of people are opting not to have home phones. So this is where the cellular communication comes in handy with the system and having people sign up for it. Advisory alerts are news and information about incidents or potential incidents that don't rise to the level of an alert. Pre-scheduled events that are large that may cause traffic congestion, road detours, severe weather watches, safety information regarding criminal activity or potential, water main breaks, gas leaks, things from Public Works. What we didn't have in the past was the ability to have Public Works join in on the system. So if there's a water main break, a boil order, traffic congestion due to a break, a buckle in the road, Public Works can now send out those alerts too and advise people of traffic or detours. And the lowest level of alert is community alerts. These can be everyday local news. We can put our police blotter on there, event reminders, sobriety checkpoint notices, crime prevention tips, community updates, smart meter information. These, again, are the lowest level. This is what people would opt in to receive. But I'll also tell you that these level of messages are the least signed up for. Because if we're sending out messages of events that are occurring every Friday, people might get sick of receiving those every Friday. But again, it's as good a system as people signing up for it want it to be, the kind of information you want to receive. And people can sign up for it and then back off of it if they think they're getting too many alerts from us. To get people to sign up, again, not for the reverse 911 dialing, that's something that we have built into it already, but to sign up and get information in the way they want to receive it. We've sent out information in the e-briefs. The chief and I and officers attend homeowners association meetings when we're invited, and we like to share information. And one of the things that we did in the past is gathered email of all the attendees that wanted to sign up for alerts from us, and many of you have received those alerts. It's difficult to manage in just a Outlook program from my desktop. And I received approximately 560 emails to date that I was trying to send these information, different police information out to. So what we did is we took that list and sent one mass email out saying, hey, we're not going to use this list anymore, we're going to use Nixle. And of the 560 people that I sent it to, I can track how many people sign up, and just off of that, there were probably a little over 200 that signed up just based off of that. And as we attend more homeowners association meetings, as the more people we talk to, we'll be able to get that list up even more. And when you do a report, you can see a lot of people sign up for emails, a lot of people sign up for text. It's not exactly the same number, but you can see that people are signing up for information the way they want to receive it. Flyers at community events, we've put them out at homeowners meetings, at the different concerts. If we do National Night Out, it'll be out there. So anything where we're out with the community, we can have flyers out there asking people to sign up. This board meeting presentation, word of mouth is really the biggest thing. What happened with our email notification system is when I would send out an alert, people would forward that, and then we would get responses back, usually 20 to 30 new people saying, hey, put me on the list, I'd like to receive this. We get people who know their neighbors that don't have electronic communications that print things out and give it to them, and that's a good way for people to see, hey, maybe I could sign up for this too, and my neighbor doesn't have to hand it out to me. On the village's website, I'll show you on the next screen. On the police section, there's a scroll on the left-hand side that'll tell you the last 10 messages that we sent out. If people are interested in that, they can click and register through that. There's 2 other links on the website for people to sign up. If you go to the village website main page, you'll see the Nixle logo. If you click on that, it'll direct you to a page to sign up. You'll see something like this on the right. You can add your mobile phone, your home phone. You can say, don't send voice messages, send voice messages, send it to my cell phone, don't send it to my home phone. There's a lot of ways you can scale this. You can put your email in your zip code, and you'll start receiving alerts. Another way to sign up is to text the zip code, 60527, to 888-777. Once you do that, you'll get a message back saying anything that happens in 60527, if they send an alert out, you'll receive that to your cell phone. And just as easy as it is to sign up for it, it's just as easy to stop. You text the word stop to the same, you reply with the word stop to this message. There are other features built into the system that'll help from a public safety standpoint. If you click on our alert scroll, it'll take you to a bigger message, and you'll see on the right you can submit anonymous tips to the police department, and we can monitor those and respond to them if necessary. And internally, we can use it we have our employee list in there for mass call-outs. If we need to get a hold of people, Public Works will have an employee section. As you probably saw tonight, we have the trustees and the mayor on there for notifications. So there's a lot of ways to sign up, but the main push is to get the word out so that people know they can sign up and receive these alerts and get the information that they sometimes think they're not getting from the police department. With that, on the village's main page, where you see the Nixle logo, underneath it is a logo that looks like this round one with 911 on it. Smart 911 is a service that DUCOM is signed up for in DuPage County. Anybody can go on and sign up for Smart 911 and put information about their residence or about their home or the people that live inside that they think would be important to first responders, fire, and police if we were coming to the house. And it's, right now, if you dial 911, your name shows up, your address shows up, and no other information. So you could put pets in the house. There's 5 dogs in the house, and if there's a fire and there's only 4 that come out, we know there's another one waiting. Elderly residents that live at home with you that need special care, you can put that information in there. And it's not a public database. It only shows up to the dispatcher when they receive a call from your house, and it gives them that extra information that might be important to a first responder. The other thing you can do with Smart 911 is sign up with your cell phone. So currently, if you call 911 from your cell phone, the only information they're going to get is maybe your name and your cell phone number. It's not going to say where you are. It'll have to be triangulated through the cell towers. So if you sign up with more information from your cell phone, the more information the dispatcher receives at the time of the call, the better it is. Now, your location with a cell phone obviously is going to move, and they're going to ask you where you are, but if they see your name and maybe some other information about you that you put into Smart 911, they may have a better chance of finding you if you're unable to communicate. Any questions about Nixle or Smart 911?
Deputy Chief, I have a question for
Yes,
you
sir.
on this. That header, every second count, really brought to mind something that happened to us recently. It was a couple of weeks ago where my wife and I were driving north on County Line Road, just south of Plainfield, and there was an abandoned car, I think, on the road, and I dialed 911 and for my cell phone, and it was they first asked where I was, which then caused them to transfer it. Is that because that's a little tricky? Because I'm almost between counties and almost between villages, but who would answer? What would DUCOM answer that call?
DuPage County gets 911 calls right now.
Okay, but I'm on the border of Cook and DuPage County, and
It really depends on where the cell tower is, and it's going to be enhanced in the near future. So if you're making a cellular call, and that's where Smart 911 comes in, because about 72% of 911 calls are made from cellular phones now. So, and everybody is trending towards cellular and doing away with landlines.
Right.
So we have our enhanced 911, and that's all geared for landlines. Where Smart 911 comes in is when you go in there and register your phone number, you can enter in all the data that is normally associated with a landline account. So to answer your question, when you're making a cellular call, it really is going to depend on what tower it hits. If it's going to hit a tower in Cook County, or maybe in Indian Head Park, it's going to go to Southwest Central Dispatch, our former dispatch center. If it's in DuPage County, it's going to go to the Sheriff's Department. So it's most important for you when you make a cellular 911 call to identify where you're at.
Well, then I identified where I was at, it was transferred. And then the next person, by the time she was done asking my name and phone number, I was at 55th Street. And I'm thinking just from every second counts, if it was a true emergency, I'm wondering how I, as the one calling in, or could improve how I communicate, or how they, on receiving end, can be faster about that, because there had to be
Well,
30, 40
like
seconds.
I said, the best thing for a cellular caller to do when they're calling 911 is to give their location. Right now, the location is triangulated by towers and by the tower face. So it gets a little complicated, and they're working on narrowing that down to a pretty defined small area. And I'm not a pro at this.
And should DUCOM have my name and phone number when?
They'll have your phone number.
My phone number.
Correct.
But they asked for it again.
So the importance with Smart 911 is if you're calling, and there's a lot of stories where this has been successful. There was one instance where the caller was in a house that was on fire, and he was overcome by smoke, and he couldn't communicate. He was coughing, but they had that open call, and what he had done is registered his cell phone. He registered a profile on Smart 911. So they knew his name, they knew where his house was. He put in a description of his house, he put in family members, pets, and it's actually on their website. You can hear the actual call. So it really cut down a lot of looking for him, because remember what I said, they're going to triangulate. If he's calling and he can't communicate, they're going to triangulate an area, a specific area. And that's going to take time to find whoever's calling. So the best thing to do, no matter what, is say, this is where I'm at, this is my location, this is what I'm calling about. Now, what you're talking about is a 911 transfer. So if it's something going on in Burr Ridge and that cell tower hits maybe in east of here, it's going to go to a communication center, a PSAP that's not ours, and there's a 911 transfer. But they should keep you on the line when that occurs.
And for the benefit of the residents, Deputy Chief, you want to give them the website
For us,
for how to create your own 911? Just
is www.dupageco.org/smart911.
okay.
I would like to go back, just add to the Nixle alerts that we send out. We also have them linked to the village's Twitter and Facebook. So whenever that message goes out, it's going to people's cell phones, emails, and it's going to those two sites. So anybody that sees them on there hopefully can click on the message and say, I want to sign up for this information and receive it in the future.
Just go over like, when you're signing up here, this is a basic sign in, and correct me if I'm wrong. When you sign in here, you're going to get everything. You have to go in and create a profile and create an account, and that's where you get to choose if you want those advisory, or you're going to get alerts no matter what. That's reverse 911. But those other two levels, that's where you can go in and choose. I don't want to get community events. I just want to know for emergencies, like we talked about earlier. So if you go in here, it's quick and easy, and they do that on purpose. You're going to get everything, but go in there, create an account, and modify it.
Yeah. And the more you look at it, the more you'll see towns that might interest you, like Lamont is on there, other surrounding towns, so you can sign up and receive their information as well. So you can drive down 83 and find out about road closures if they're happening, or any other events that might be of interest to you.
Thank you.
Trustees, you have any questions of the Deputy Chief?
I've signed up, and it's a wonderful program.
Thank you.
One last thing, if there's any residents that maybe don't have a computer, that want to bother with computers, they can always call us and we can register them and take care of all that information for them.
Thank you, Chief. Deputy Chief? Next on the agenda are considerations, or 8B, consideration of Personnel Committee recommendation to direct the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners to fill the vacant police officer position.
The village board will recall during the budget process, we talked about two positions, which are found in items 8, B, and C, where we budgeted for the positions, but we held off in filling those positions until after we knew what was going on with the state budget. Well, here it is, almost July 1st, when the new budget has occurred, and nothing's happened. They adjourned at the end of May, and they're supposed to come back this week, but nothing's happened since then. And during that discussion, I agreed that I would bring this back to you if we knew something or if we didn't know something. And it appears at this point, although they may pass some type of continuing resolution, they're not going to have a full-fledged budget probably till after the election in November. That's what everybody seems to think will happen. You know, we could always be surprised. But at this point, it appears that that's going to be the case. So with that in mind, and as we discussed before, there doesn't seem to be any more reason to wait on these important positions. So I brought this before the Personnel Committee last week, and they recommended unanimously that that you go ahead and approve the filling of the vacant police officer position. Remember, that is allowing us to have a community police officer. The person that we hire would not be doing that. We have a trained, experienced officer that would be doing that, but this person would go ahead, be trained, and fill in on the shift while we would allow, once that occurs, then we would be allowed to go forward and fill this community police officer position. As we talked about in the minutes of the Personnel Committee, you saw that I think it's about 21% of the time that they're dealing with the DARE program. The other 79% of the time, they're dealing with other types of community-related activities that the police department is involved in, whether it's the police academy, whether it's peer jury, whether it's ongoing investigations, whether it's filling in for vacations and other types of things during the summer months and so forth. That position is definitely a worthwhile position. And especially if we have the money available, which we do currently. It was a recommendation of the police chief, myself, and the personnel committee that we go ahead and fill this vacant police officer position. Be more than happy to answer any questions.
Trustees, any questions of village administrator? Trustee Grasso?
I think it's been proven statistically, unfortunately, that the DARE program does not really work. But I don't know how we can turn our backs to it. I feel like we should try, even if statistically it does not stop children from doing things that they learn later they should not have done. So as long as we know that we can then use this police officer in other ways too, right? If we determine that we do not want to use the DARE system, we can still then...
Absolutely. You can decide at any time, any point to eliminate the DARE program. I think what the chief is basically saying is that there's lots of other things that they do.
Like 21% of the time is spent on DARE.
Correct. And again, as I've said to you before, we can all debate whether or not, or how effective the DARE program is in the long term. But the thing for us in the village of Burr Ridge is that it allows the opportunity for a police officer to be in the schools, for our school children to get to meet our officer, to get a feel for who a police officer is and feel comfortable with that police officer at a young age. And I think that's a very important aspect of the DARE program in general. Plus, we have a set of eyes and ears in each of the schools, so we know what's going on in those school buildings.
Only 21, and the number that I really remember from the personnel committee meeting was 21% is on DARE. And I have to say that we don't really. It's hard to measure. It's like marketing. It's you don't really know what an impact it makes. But I can say that being in a lot of other mayors' meetings, there are things that other villages seem to have more challenges with than we do. And I'm just thankful for everything that happens in the village, including the DARE program, to make that possible. So, any questions or discussion?
Make a motion that we fill the vacant police officer position.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Baveza?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Scalpa?
Yes.
6-0.
Considerations 8C, consideration of Personnel Committee recommendation to direct village administrator to fill the vacant part-time receptionist position.
Similar with the vacant police officer position, we had budgeted for the part-time receptionist position that's been vacant for over a year. And at this point in time, I'm recommending, and again, the Personnel Committee is recommending that we fill the position. We are really shorthanded in the front office. Not having this person really has an impact on the only 3 full-time employees that we have in the office, and I really would like to fill that position at this time.
And there was considerable discussion on this subject at the Personnel Committee meeting back and forth. But ultimately, the committee did decide to recommend it. It was Vicky, it was the last one, wasn't it?
Yes,
And it was
it's a while ago.
for performance as well as morale. Trustee Scappa?
I move to direct the village administrator to fill the vacant part-time receptionist position.
Second. Oh, I'm sorry.
Comment?
I'll pay attention.
Sorry, Trustee Francis?
I had a question. Part-time means how many hours, Steve?
20 hours a week.
Thank you.
And with all part-time positions, there are no benefits.
Understood.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Scapa?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
6-0.
Motion passes 6-0. 8D, consideration of staff recommendation to hire a full-time general utility worker, 1, to fill the vacant part-time general utility worker 1 position.
Now, this item was not presented to the Personnel Committee because we told the board back in February that in lieu of filling a general utility worker 2 position in the forestry division, that we were going to try and work out to see how it would work to hire 2 part-time employees. It just so happens that one of our part-time positions is currently open, and Public Works Director brought it to my attention and asked if there was a possibility, since we do have a $200,000 surplus in the budget, to go ahead and fill this position with a full-time general utility worker 1 position. So what he's recommending, and I concur with his recommendation, that having 1 full-time person would be better and more efficient than having 2 part-timers at this point in time. Now, the cost is not included in this year's budget, and that's about $31,000. But again, because of the vacancy is there, we thought we'd bring this to your attention to see what your thoughts were, and Dave's here if you have any questions regarding the need for that position. Remember, in the forestry division, we're planting probably 3 times as many trees as we've been planting in the past. We're still doing that all in-house. Of course, with the snowplow season over, but coming up again next year, having an additional snowplow driver is certainly useful. And when we hire these full-time, these part-time employees, they don't come with the necessary skills to be able to use the larger trucks, and so they're really limited, at least for the time being, in terms of being able to operate those larger pieces of equipment. We do try to train them, but we don't keep them very long, especially in this economy. And they leave us, and we're constantly having to fill these positions. So with that, and again, another reason why we think it would be useful at this time to have 1 additional full-time as opposed to the 2 part-timers. So again, any questions? Dave, you want to come up?
Or is that Trustee Grasso had a question first?
Yeah, you say the 2 general utility workers and the total salary. Are we saying that one of those 2 is no longer with us, or there's a third one who's no longer with us? One of the 2.
Right.
So the one that you would,
Well, we have a couple of part-timers in other divisions, and we would probably interview them all and decide which one was the best.
okay.
And then by doing that, then we would have eliminated the 2 part-time positions in favor of the 1 full-time.
Well, I still see the value in part-time workers. I mean, if you have a labor-intensive thing like planting all the trees, you could have both part-time workers working instead of 1 full-time worker. I know they're limited to the number of hours they can work, but then you've got overtime part-time workers, or you hire another part-time worker, and you save almost or $21,000 because you don't pay the employer portion of the insurance or the IMRF. So I'm still a little bit caught because I think there's a value for part-time people. Hopefully they have a spouse that has the insurance, but that's often the case, that people don't necessarily need the insurance. So
In this case, you're dealing with very young people. I mean, young kids, 20, 21 years old, probably are not married.
then they can still be on their parents' insurance.
And that's probably the case, yeah, because of the new law, and I think a lot of these kids are still living at home. You're right about that.
We had that discussion tonight. Trustee Pavesa?
Well, I gotta agree, I like the idea of part-timers, but without going into detail, there's a limit, or potentially, we're gonna have a problem with the limit on part-time workers. And as I'm sure the Public Works Director will say, is that basically our big turnover has been with part-time. So we no sooner trade them and they're gone, so it's better to trade them and get better use out of them. And I think in this case, knowing what's coming down in the future, I think that full-time is the way to go.
I'm sorry, trustee Francis?
I think a full-time worker offers our residents the highest level of quality of service that we can afford as a board. And one other thing is to mention is that when we have 2 part-time workers, we have double the amount of training that needs to take place for those workers versus training a full-time worker. Thank you.
Would you like to add anything?
No, I think the memo is pretty clear. It does come down to a concern for some constraints, as we get into the winter season. But really, it is about the consistency of experience and consistency of service. And Trustee Francis has touched on that. And it is about the experience and the training and the care and the caution they give to the village. Thanks for your consideration.
Do you think it could also help with longevity?
Absolutely. Again, we're training them and then we're giving them that promotional opportunity that gives them that carrot to stick around. And then we also have spent, the time in training and getting them into a position that's more valuable to us.
We also use general utility worker 1 for water main breaks, and
That's right.
yeah. So it's more than just planting trees.
They're across the department.
Yeah, we're spending more and more time trying to cross-train our public works employees, even though we have a forestry division, a water division, and an operations division. We're doing just that. Trustee Bolus is trying to train them and try to get them involved in all aspects of the department.
Gotcha. Any other discussion?
I'll make a motion to hire a full-time general utility worker.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
6-0.
Okay. Next item, before I bring it up, just let me ask a point of clarification, Village Administrator. This is regarding the Economic Development Plan. That was actually voted on already, correct?
Yes, the village board did approve the plan. At the last meeting, you weren't here, but Trustee Francis asked that this item be placed on the agenda for discussion, and I think it's a legitimate request and one that the board should take action on.
Okay. And, okay, the item is AD, consideration of a request from Trustee Francis to refer the Economic Development Plan to the Plan Commission for their review and recommendations. Trustee Francis?
Yes, thank you. I was one of the serving members on the Economic Development Plan Subcommittee, and at those workshops, one thing I did ask for is that the Economic Development Plan be routed through the Plan Commission for their review and comment. That didn't happen. I also asked to be notified when the Economic Development Committee would be having their meeting to review and comment on this Economic Development Plan, and I was not notified of that meeting. The Economic Development Committee has been given the opportunity to review and comment on the comprehensive plan, which is the purveyance of the Plan Commission. Likewise, many of the elements of the comprehensive plan, such as zoning, signage, and land use, affect decisions made by the Economic Development Committee. So Economic Development Committee was given the opportunity to review that plan as well. Many of the elements of the Economic Development Plan affect elements of zoning and signage. And the same courtesy should exist to the Plan Commission that exists to the Economic Development Committee. Mr. Stricker, in his comments to the board, say that the plan has already been approved by the board. That's true, but I had asked that the Plan Commission be allowed to review and comment on it prior to board approval, and that was not allowed. My request was ignored. It is not a land use document. It has provisions and elements in it which call for zoning changes. It conflicts with the zoning ordinance in certain instances, and it conflicts with the signed ordinance in certain instances. And those are decisions that are guided by and made by the Plan Commission for recommendation on action by the village board. Any proposals regarding land use and signage will have to be submitted to the Plan Commission, and that is true. Mr. Stricker compares this plan to a budget. It's not like the budget in any way. The budget dictates to the village staff how and when to spend money. The plan guides decisions made by the Plan Commission, the Economic Development Committee, and ultimately the board. So, those are my introductory comments, and I'll have some after other board members have the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Grasso?
No comment.
Trustee Paveza?
Well, the Economic Development Committee spent a lot of time and effort to come up with this plan.
No, they did not. The Economic Development Subcommittee did.
Well, somebody came up with the plan, the final plan that was presented to the board.
Correct.
I thought it was a good plan. And I thought that they did it, whether it's the subcommittee or the general committee, I thought the plan was well done. And the board thought it was well done because when we voted on it, we passed it 5-1. In looking at it, since there is nothing in the plan, there are no dimensions, there are no zoning changes, there's nothing like that basically is a responsibility of the Plan Commission. You know, I basically don't see the sense in having more people nitpick a plan that's already in place. When there is something firmly in place, definitely it's got to go to the Plan Commission. And as far as people seeing the plan, am I right, it's online? The plan is online, so people can see it. Am I wrong, Steve, in how, committees work versus the Plan Commission?
Oh, no, you're absolutely correct. All those strategies or ideas will go nowhere unless there's a concrete plan. It's somebody else presents to us. And at that point in time, it goes through the normal process, and the Plan Commission will have every opportunity to review it. But then they'll be reviewing an actual plan, not a concept of whether something should change in the zoning ordinance or the sign ordinance, but an actual plan that they can look at. And I think that's what we're basically talking about here. And while I'm speaking in terms of comparing it to the budget, all I was suggesting is that just like in the economic development plan, a budget has lots of items in it. Some things you agree with, some things you may not agree with, but you ultimately approve a budget with the understanding that those large items will come back on an individual basis to be voted on one-on-one. And that's what I was trying to make the comparison. We may not all agree to everything that's in the economic development plan, but I think overall it was felt that it was a good plan, and I think the majority voted for it. But those individual items will always come back, I think that's the time you would want to seek the input of the Plan Commission.
Okay, so everyone has a chance. Trustee Bowles?
When I was a new Plan Commissioner, the first thing I was told was become familiar with the comprehensive plan because it will guide your decision-making. I don't see the economic plan being any different than that. It will guide their decision-making. So I don't see any reason why the Plan Commission can't take a look at the economic development plan. You guys are so protective of this. I want to know what the underlying issues are. Nobody else can look at it? Yeah, it's online, it's on this, it's on that. Why can't the Plan Commission have an honest discussion about the economic development plan? As you said, it's voted on, possibly nothing will change, but I don't understand this closedness, secretive, why can't they talk about it and look at it and talk about it in an open session?
Well, actually,
Is guiding their decision-making.
Actually, I believe they can, can't they?
Well,
They can, actually, they
allow
have.
them to put it on the
do
agenda.
Do they have access to the plan?
I believe that everybody
And
does.
can they also,
Not without it being an agenda item.
can they relay, they can certainly render opinions to it.
But it needs to be an agenda item so they can discuss the plan as a whole. You can't just bring it up. So I don't see any reason why they can't put it on as an agenda
Open
item
their
and discuss it.
Again, the Plan Commission, I think, looks at things from a different perspective, and we want them to keep an open mind on issues, but their job is not looking at economic development, their job is looking at land use, okay?
And that- there's
And,
signs and
and this
land
is
use
an
in here.
economic development plan, and obviously the subcommittee, ultimately the Economic Development Committee and this village board reviewed and approved an economic development plan. When an economic development idea or suggestion becomes a real proposed project, then you will want the input of that particular commission. And again, remember, they're a recommending body to the village board. But they, as I say, normally speaking, they are not involved in economic development issues. They are involved in land use issues. Wait for the land use issue to come up and then request the recommendation of the plan commission.
Why such a pushback? Just look at it. Just let them look at it. Let them talk about it. What's the pushback for?
I guess the question is there, why is there pushback from you?
Because I think everybody should have input. You said they look at things at a different, and with a different eye. Let them look at it with a different eye.
Well, I would
I'm sure,
basically look
trustee
like
President,
this-
hold on.
excuse me.
Please, but let's finish the order here, and you have second comments in a second. Trustee Bowles, are you finished?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Murphy?
I guess the purpose of the economic development plan was to encourage the right businesses to come into Burr Ridge. And we wanted to put something out there kind of encouraging people to at least come and ask if we would be open to doing certain things. And that's why I think, maybe everything is not exactly the way the Planning Commission rules are as they stand right now. I don't have a problem with the Planning Commission looking at it. I think if they have they may have some great ideas and come back to us with them. If we can put kind of a timely time limit on it, so they do it in the next week or 2 or 3 weeks, something like that, I'm open to it. But, what I don't want is to discourage companies from coming to us.
Thank you. Trustee Schiappa?
I'm on the Economic Development Planning, Economic Development Committee, and when I received it, I read through it and I thought it was a good plan for the village, and it makes us open to the village, and that's why I voted for the plan. I think it's something that's been voted on, and it is available online for any of the planning commissioners, any of the residents to view it. If they have any comments, we do have a public mic where they can come into our board meeting and make any comment towards the Economic Development Committee, or the Economic Development Plan. I believe that we are the committee that approves the ordinances, considerations, resolutions. We approve the budget, the comprehensive plan, we approve this. I don't think it's the place for the Planning Commission to make any approvals. I think that's what separates us from the Planning Commission. They make recommendations for us that we consider, and then we approve them. Just like we did with the Economic Development Committee. They made a recommendation to us. We either approve or deny it.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my comments.
Okay. Anything else? Trustee Pavese, you had
Trustee Francis?
Trustee Francis?
No, I'm just, like I said, I was the one that said, let's put it on the agenda. What I'm worried about is setting a precedent that, we have committees. We've got this economic development, we've got a pathway commission, we got water committee, we got all these committees. And, they send it to the board and the board approves it, and then 1 or 2 people say, well, let's send it to the plan commission. It's like the work these people done is just secondary to the plan commission, and I think we'd be setting a dangerous precedent by doing that.
Okay. Trustee Francis?
The precedent's already been set. We sent the comprehensive plan to the Economic Development Committee previously for their review and commentary. It's already been set. I'm not saying the plan is a bad plan. I think it's a good plan. I supported the plan. I worked hard on the plan. It was an idea I had for the plan, and I voted for the plan. I'm not saying it's a bad plan at all. I think it's a great plan. But there are things in there. You put the comprehensive plan side by side with the economic development plan. There's things that are conflicting when it comes to zoning and signage. And I think that the
Can you give me,
Commission
can you give
Zoning
me
Board
an
of Appeals
example?
should be made aware of it and have the opportunity to make commentary on it. That's all. Not asking to be nitpicked. We'll give them a time limit. I have no problem with the time limit, reasonable time
Can
limit.
you give me, Trustee Francis, can you give us an example of what might be contradictory?
There is a zoning called for in the northeast corner of the corporate park. This current zoning is office O2, and the comprehensive plan is calling for residential. The economic development plan is calling for residential. There is a signage that's being recommended, electronic message signage that's being recommended, and that conflicts with the sign ordinance. So the Plan Commission, which makes recommendations on those types of topics, on planning issues with no specific plan in front of them, makes planning recommendations, they need to be aware of this. And I would ask that they be able to give their formal commentary on it, that's all. No action can be taken. We've already voted on it, that's been stated. But I don't think it'll hurt. I don't, and I don't know what we're afraid of here, of their comments. You know, we asked for their valuable comments all the time on planning and zoning issues, recommendations, and yet on this issue, something that conflicts with the comprehensive plan, we're not asking for their opinion. What would it hurt? Let them look
So are you, do I have any motions on the table?
Move we refer the economic development plan to the Plan Commission for the review and recommendations and give them a 4-week, 2-meeting cycle for review and commentary.
Second.
Okay. Then roll call. Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Taking over your job, yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Schiappa?
No.
Trustee Grasso?
No?
Trustee Pavesa?
No.
Did you say no?
Yes.
Mayor Straub?
No.
4-3.
It's the role of the board to give direction to the village. That's my own personal opinion. We certainly value the Plan Commission, and we value the opinion of all the business owners in the village too, and I'm sure we can get their opinion as well. But I believe, I signed with Trustee Francis, Trustee Pavesa. It would set a bad precedent, and it is our role to give direction to the Plan Commission, and for them, and for the Plan Commission's role for land use. Thank you very much. Motion passes, or motion fails, 4-3. Okay, under other considerations, for announcement, deliberation, and or discussion. That was on the consent agenda, but I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah. No, sir.
Anyone? Okay, next section, residents' comments. Any residents would like to address the board?
Regarding the, Mark Thomas, 7515 Drew Avenue. Regarding your last vote concerning the, having the Plan Commission look at the economic development plan, I have to agree. I really think that there are segments in there that violate current ordinances, and I think it's misleading for a business. Any business that comes into town is going to look at this economic development plan is going to think, hey, you know, I can go and put up an electronic sign, I can do these different things, and then they're going to find out once they get in here that they're going to have to go before the board, they're going to have to hire an attorney, pay additional fees and whatnot. I think that was wrong. I think it should have gone to the Plan Commission just because of those few rules that are obviously in violation of the ordinance currently. Secondly, I'd like to bring up the the resolution that you did on the ComEd meters. It probably should have been a little broader in respect to the gas meters will be going smart as well. That's something that I've read a lot about, as well as our water meters. We have gone to smart water meters in the village. They broadcast on the same frequency. They use the same type of modulation. So for ComEd to be singled out here, I don't think that's correct. Thank you.
Thank you. James?
Maybe we can discuss the difference between gas meters and water meters at another meeting. I'm not nearly as concerned or concerned at all. As I had mentioned in a prior meeting, the meters, and some members of our staff mentioned it to me, are activated, and they pulse one time every two months. These smart meters are 10,000 times, possibly 190,000 times a day, according to, as I had mentioned before, PG&E in California. I want to thank my village board and our village administrator for your very thoughtful and measured approach to dealing with the situation that ComEd has put its customers in. This is a great example for how local government should work. As a resident, we know that Burr Ridge loves and supports business and capitalism, but for me, what makes Burr Ridge so special is that Burr Ridge loves its people just as much, and always tries to strike the perfect balance in growing Burr Ridge, as this preceding discussion demonstrates. As the village board, our leadership clearly understands, in business, really caring for customers is still the very best path to long-term success. I am very proud of Burr Ridge, and I am very happy to call Burr Ridge home.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving on, reports and communications from village officials. Trustee Grasso?
I'd like to remind everyone that there will not be a concert this Friday because of the 4th of July weekend. We have had them in the past, but this week we will not have a concert, so please don't set up unless you choose to picnic without music. I'd also like to recommend that people think twice before bringing their dogs to the concerts. Everyone loves their animal, and everyone thinks that everyone else loves their pet, but it isn't always as smooth, and it's a very excited place with lots of children running around, and I would ask that people think twice about bringing a pet. Other than that, on July 8th, we have the New Invaders, which is a 60s rock and roll band, so please come and hear that concert. Thank you.
Thanks for the reminder about the dogs, because it was at this 2 concerts ago that I saw a dog that actually bit me a few weeks ago in the face and in the hand, and I did not report it. But after seeing the dog wandering through the concerts, I said, you know what, I really should have, and I went back and did it. Because we don't want to have that type of a risk involved at the concert, certainly, and not just from a safety standpoint, but also just from a cleanliness and disruption standpoint. I agree with you. That's a great reminder. I only have one reminder. Does anybody else have any reminders? I'd just like to wish everybody a wonderful 4th of July and encourage everyone to honor our country and our independence on July 4th. Of course, the Hinsdale Parade is the biggest parade that I know of in the western suburbs. Always well attended, and that'll be going on. I believe it starts at 10 a.m. On Garfield. Yes.
Also, as people go down Wolf Road and see the signs, Pleasantdale Park District on 73rd and Wolf puts on a wonderful fireworks display, and this time it's on Sunday night.
Great reminder too. It starts at 5:30 as its official
There's a bunch of
celebration,
events. It starts
and then-
5:30 and the
then,
fireworks are about 9:15.
Fireworks at dusk. Great catch.
I just wanted to thank Dolores Cezak. Remember, she brought to us a flag that flew over the U.S. Capitol, and we have it now proudly displayed in our foyer with the plaque next to it. think it's a good location. It's underneath a light, so people can see it as they come in. And again, thank you, Dolores, for providing that for us.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? And speaking of which, non-residents section, and we have Dolores Cizik.
Good evening. Dolores Cizik, former trustee and former resident. Two things. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the efforts of Village Clerk Karen Thomas in putting the flag together. As you go out these double doors, it'll be on your right side, and there's a plaque on the wall. I'd like to make a comment about the smart meters. Now, if you pass this around, there was an article in the LaGrange Doings. LaGrange is going to be installing about 7,000 of these. Now, actually, it seems to me that the problem goes back to the Illinois General Assembly, because they enacted the Energy Infrastructure Modernization Act in 2011 that provided $2.6 billion over 10 years to ComEd to modernize its electric grid. There has been opposition to it from residents of some other communities, most prominently Naperville. They have opposed the digital meters. Some foes have cited the concerns that meters emit radio frequencies that can cause cancer. The spokesperson for ComEd, her name is Martinez, said our smart meters are safe. They've been extensively tested. However, Martinez noted that ComEd did not install the meters in Naperville. So I think that's something that should be taken into consideration. It seems to me that the General Assembly did not do its due diligence back in 2011. But you might say that's water over the dam. I don't understand why a person should have to pay $260 a year to opt out of the program. And the way this is set up, you can only opt out for 1 year. Why do you have to pay $260 to protect yourself from a methodology that you think may cause illness in your family? I have to wonder, with this very extensive economic development plan in a very small community, I mean, this town is only a little over 11,000. I wonder how many members on that Economic Development Committee actually have experience in retailing. I'd like to see a list of the membership. I think what was presented a few weeks ago is over the top. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dolores. Any other non-residents to make any comments? Okay, may I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Bolas? Yes. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Schiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be doing, of course, approving the closed session minutes of May 9th. Is that the correct date of 2016? Or is that, I thought the meeting was in June. And the probable and imminent litigation during the closed session, after which time we will reconvene the meeting and then adjourn it. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Have a blessed evening and a happy 4th of July.